Hello everyone and welcome to the Dill Pickle Movie Network. Happy 2022. Happy New Year. I hope you had a happy holiday. I've been doing this channel for almost a year now and I'm very appreciative of all the people who have supported, liked, commented, subscribed to this channel. We've almost hit 200 subscribers in just 1 year, which is really 20 times more than I ever expected to get in a first year. So I'm very grateful. Share the channel with your friends if you want to keep helping me grow this channel to bigger and brighter heights. But sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Today, we're going to be talking about the most anticipated movies for 2022. We're in a new year. We have lots of great movies coming out. The way I did this last year in 2021 is I went month by month, picking one film from each month that I was excited for. There are other films that their release dates haven't been announced yet, so I lump them all into one other category, and I'm picking 3 extra films from that long list of films that have not been given a release date. So at the end, we'll have 15 films that I will then rank. So it's really like a best of the best list at the very end. But let's just go month by month and talk about these movies that I'm so excited for. Some of them you've probably never heard of. Some of them you've probably heard about too much. If you went to the theaters in the past few months, you know you've seen the Jackass trailer probably 30 times. But some of these films you probably have never heard of, and I'm excited to introduce them to you if you haven't heard of them, and just build that anticipation and excitement with me. Starting in January, there are actually going to be a lot of Oscar films that are going to get wider releases or re-releases as the Oscar season continues. One of those films is Cyrano. I haven't seen it yet. It will be getting a wide release on the 21st. I didn't put that in my list just because it is technically still a 2021 release. Some other films coming out, The 355, which is a spy action film starring Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o, Penelope Cruz, and Sebastian Stan.
Oh my God! Do you remember her? Sebastian Stan. Man, you're looking good.
Also, 2 big studio films. One on the 14th, which is Scream, the new Scream movie. I don't know why they don't just call it Scream 5. Morbius is also coming on the 28th, a Marvel film. We're already back in the swing of things with Marvel. This is not MCU canon, but this is a Marvel film. I don't know much about Morbius, so I can't really say I'm too excited, but I'm excited for anything that Marvel puts out, seeing how they landed, especially after such a successful year with a bunch of great Marvel projects. But my most anticipated movie for January is The Fallout. This is a movie that premiered at the South by Southwest Festival, so some people are considering it a 2021 release, but it really is getting a major wide release on HBO Max in January. This is a film that stars Jenna Ortega, Maddie Ziegler, Shailene Woodley. It is directed by Megan Park, and the film navigates this one girl's emotional trauma following a school shooting. This is very heavy subject matter, but the lead girl is played by Jenna Ortega, who I mentioned earlier, and I really love Jenna Ortega's work. She really impressed me in season 2 of the show You on Netflix. She impressed me in the film Yes Day, which I didn't really like, but she was probably the highlight of on Netflix. She is a really talented up-and-coming actress. I think we're going to see her a lot. We're actually going to see her in Scream 5, funny enough. So she has 2 big January releases. This is the one I'm most excited for. The music is done by Phineas. This film looks like it's going to be my cup of tea. A really great dramatic story with some great acting. I cannot wait to see it.
You don't even need to wear makeup. Sorry, what? I just said you don't even need to wear makeup.
Now moving on to February, we're going to talk about it, Jackass Forever. You've probably seen the trailer in the theaters time and time again if you went to the theaters in the past few months, but it did get delayed from 2021 to 2022. It is not on my list, but it is in my list of honorable mentions. I also consider Death on the Nile, which is the follow-up to Murder on the Orient Express. I didn't love that movie, but I really love the casts that are assembled for these movies. And then we're also getting a Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, which I don't know if I'm that excited about, just because horror remakes tend to have a bad track record. But it's a horror film, and I like horror films, so I'm excited to see it nonetheless. But the pick for most anticipated of February is Dog. If you've seen this trailer, you know just how heartwarming and funny this trailer really is.
Definitely not the girl I thought I'd be in the tub with, but I'll take what I can get at this point, I guess.
The film stars Channing Tatum, but is also directed by Channing Tatum. This is Channing Tatum's directorial debut. It follows a U.S. Army Ranger played by Tatum, who's tasked with bringing a dog named Lulu across country on a road trip for her handler's funeral. She's a service dog in the military, and there were some really great jokes in the trailer, but what really got to me in the trailer was the sentiment and the heartwarming nature of this story. It feels like a very simple story, but a very heartwarming one, especially for dog lovers like myself. I just really enjoyed this trailer, and it made me smile, it made me giggle, and I cannot wait to see it. It is my most anticipated movie of February.
Oh my God, I can see.
Moving on to March, we have a new Pixar film coming out called Turning Red. We've also got a new A24 film called Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is directed by the Daniels, who directed Swiss Army Man, which is a really, really quirky, odd, but really, really compelling A24 film. If you haven't seen it, starring Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe, go check it out. This movie looks really, really good as well, but I had to put Batman as my highest anticipated film of March. I just cannot wait for this film. Matt Reeves is one of my favorite new directors. He broke out with some big hits. Cloverfield let me in, but he really got his stride with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes. I feel like that's when everyone really started noticing him. I really, really love this cast as well. Robert Pattinson will be playing Bruce Wayne, Zoe Kravitz as the Catwoman, Paul Dano as the Riddler, Colin Farrell as Penguin, Andy Serkis as Alfred. I really, really love the character of Batman. I love the different iterations of Batman we've seen. We've seen the Tim Burton style Batman with Michael Keaton. We've seen the newer, grittier Christopher Nolan reboots of Batman. We've seen Ben Affleck's Batman in this bigger Justice League DCEU series, but it's really going to be interesting seeing Matt Reeves' take on this character. This is a dark character. This is an anti-hero more so than a superhero, and I love Matt Reeves' style, and I think it's going to really complement the film very nicely. I cannot wait for the Batman.
I'm vengeance.
Moving on to April, my favorite month of the year. Some films from big studios like Sonic 2 coming out on the 8th. We also have Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore coming out on the 15th. We've got a new Michael Bay film, Ambulance, coming out on the 8th. But there were two films that really struck me. One that didn't make my list but is very, very intriguing, called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. This is coming out on the 22nd, and wait till you hear the premise of this. It stars Nicolas Cage, but it stars Nicolas Cage as a fictionalized version of himself. Nicolas Cage is playing Nicolas Cage. But that's not the craziest part. The film centers around Nicolas Cage accepting a $1 million offer to attend a birthday party of a billionaire. Plans go awry, and this is the part that's the craziest. Nicolas Cage is faced to become a version of some of his most iconic characters in order to save his wife from a notorious drug lord. This sounds like the most crazy, wild experiment of a film, but I cannot wait for it. I love Nicolas Cage. I love his zany, crazy action star performances. I also like some of his reined-in performances as well. Most recently, Pig. He was really, really good in that movie. I think he's a really underrated actor. I mean, if you asked me decades ago, maybe I wouldn't have said so, but I feel like nowadays, some people look at Nicolas Cage as a joke, and I'm really excited to see him, dig into all these different roles and different flavors of Cage. But oddly enough, this is not my most anticipated film of April, because that belongs to Robert Eggers' The Northman. Robert Eggers is the director of The Witch and The Lighthouse, two films that were really, really intriguing. I didn't love The Witch as much as some other people, but I loved The Lighthouse. I especially loved the cinematic nature of it, the sets, the cinematography. The film follows a Viking prince played by Alexander Skarsgård, who sets out on a mission to avenge his father's death after he was murdered by his uncle. This trailer, I just watched it today for this video because I try to stay clear of trailers. I try to only watch them once, but this really, really intrigued me, and I watched it again because it was just so powerful. I never used to think stories like this were my thing, but then this past year with The Green Knight and The Last Duel, maybe I do like these more medieval period pieces. Maybe I do like that style of filmmaking. I think Robert Eggers, it makes sense that he is making this movie. It fits within his style just from what we've seen in the trailers. I'm really, really excited for this. This is the one that was probably like teetering on my radar, but after watching the trailer, I'm like, yeah, I'm sold on this film. I cannot wait to see it.
I want to avenge you, father. I want to save you, mother. I want to kill you if you live.
May, kicking off the summer movie season. Obviously, we're getting Top Gun Maverick finally after delay after delay after delay. Who's to say it's even going to come out in May? Who knows? Maybe it'll get delayed some more. We also have Legally Blonde 3 coming on May 20th, but the film I had to go with, it should be no surprise. I do a Marvel podcast. I had to put one big Marvel film in here, and it is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I'll admit I'm a little multiversed out. We're getting a lot of multiverses in a bunch of different things, including other projects not related to Marvel. We're getting a DC multiverse film this year. Even Everything Everywhere All at Once is a semi-multiverse film. So I think just this multiverse overload is making me a little more apprehensive toward this project, but Sam Raimi is directing it, and Sam Raimi is one of my favorite directors. He directed my favorite comic book movies of all time with the Spider-Man trilogy. Spider-Man 1 and 2 especially are some of my favorite movies of all time, so I'm really, really excited to see what Sam Raimi brings to the MCU. I hope the studio doesn't interfere too much and his vision is able to come through. I didn't really get a ton of Sam Raimi vibes from the trailer, which has me a little hesitant, but Elizabeth Olsen is incredible. Wanda's one of my favorite MCU characters. I love Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange. We're also getting Chiwetel Ejiofor back back in the mix. I'm really, really excited for this. I have my reservations about it, but of all the MCU films this year, this is the one I'm most excited for.
Things just got out of hand.
Now in June, we have some big releases. Jurassic World Dominion coming out on the 10th. We also have an Elvis biopic directed by Baz Luhrmann coming out on the 24th. But my most anticipated film for June is Lightyear. This is a film based on the astronaut Buzz Lightyear that the toy that we see in Toy Story is based off of. So this is not your Buzz Lightyear Star Command TV show where it is the fictionalized version of Buzz Lightyear. This is supposed to be the real Buzz Lightyear that the Pixar universe built their toys around. It's very confusing, but I think having a voice change, having Chris Evans voice the character is going to help establish that change a little bit, but it's just such an intriguing premise. I hope it's really big, spectacle-driven work. I really can't wait to see them explore a space story, since I don't think we've gotten a space story in Pixar except for WALL-E. I might be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I really cannot wait to see what Pixar brings to this film, because now you can really do anything you want with animation, and I think a space film is the perfect thing to do in the format of animation. So I'm really, really excited for that.
To infinity
And
Kicking off July, we have Minions Rise of Gru on the 1st of July, which I'm not excited for. But what am I excited for? I'm excited for Thor Love and Thunder. That's going to be a really fun film. Another Taika Waititi Thor film in the MCU. We're also getting Bullet Train on the 15th, in a film about 5 assassins who find themselves on a Japanese bullet train. It stars Brad Pitt, Joey King, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, Michael Shannon. This is a really great cast. It's going to be an action film. I cannot wait for that. Black Adam, which is the Rock DC film. We're seeing The Rock play a superhero, which feels like we would have already seen him play a superhero, but it's taken him this long and he is finally doing it. But I have to put this film as my most anticipated for July, and that is Nope. This is Jordan Peele's 3rd film. It is yet another horror film in his filmography. Jordan Peele is one of my favorite new voices in horror. He's only made 2 films, Get Out and Us. Both films I really like. Get Out especially I love. I don't know anything about it aside from its cast. Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, Steven Yeun, but even those 3 names alone is enough to intrigue me. Any horror film by Jordan Peele is likely going to be in my top 15 most anticipated for the year, and this certainly is no exception. In August, there really aren't a lot of announced titles for August. I feel like we'll get a few more as time goes on. At the time of recording, though, there was only really one big film that caught my attention, and that is the film Bros, directed by Billy Eichner. It is coming out on the 12th. It is a very historical film because it is the first all LGBTQ+ principal cast in a studio film. This is a really, really great boundary breaker. Even the heterosexual roles are played by LGBTQ actors, and I really, really like that. It is a gay rom-com. There's not really any details aside from that, but I think just the idea of having this historic cast, having a voice like Billy Eichner behind it, who is very, very funny. I love Billy on the Street. I love his work on Parks and Rec. I think he's a very funny guy. I cannot wait to see the comedy he brings to it, but also the heart and sentimentality, because he is a comedian, but I'm sure he can also write a great romantic script as well. The reason why I'm really excited about it, though, is because it was filmed in my hometown. I remember when they were putting out pride flags and really decking out our downtown here in New Jersey, just with all this great set design. I was really, really excited, and I was like, wow, what is this movie? And it turns out it was this movie, Bros. Billy Eichner's directing it, so I'm really excited to see my town also in this film. It's really exciting when you see a film where you can point out different locations and say, wait, I've been there yesterday. So I cannot wait to see that film for those reasons especially. In September, we're getting some films. We're getting a horror film on the 9th, which is a Stephen King adaptation called Salem's Lot. This is about vampires. Ooh, how exciting, but also very terrifying. We're also getting The Woman King on the 16th, directed by Gina Prince Bythewood, starring Viola Davis, John Boyega, and Lashana Lynch, 3 actors I really, really love. We're getting a new Puss in Boots film on the 23rd, Puss in Boots 2 Last Wish. One popular title I'm sure you've heard about is Don't Worry Darling. This is a psychological thriller. This is Olivia Wilde's 2nd time directing after her hit film Booksmart. This seems like a very different turn from Booksmart. This is a psychological thriller, not a comedy whatsoever. It stars Florence Pugh and Harry Styles, 2 of the most attractive people in the world, and also 2 of the greatest up-and-coming actors. I think Harry Styles is an underrated actor. I know we haven't seen him in much, but his work in Dunkirk is very, very good. He's also a very good showman when he performs, when he sings, when he does his concerts. And Florence Pugh is just one of my favorite stars, period. She is excellent in everything she does. She was excellent in Black Widow this year. I really loved her in Little Women and Midsommar, so I'm really excited to see this film. But my most anticipated film for September is Mission Impossible 7. This was actually one of the films that I put on my list last year because it got pushed to this year. So once again, it makes it onto the list. I really, really hope it does come out this year. I know there have been some setbacks due to COVID and also due to injuries on the set. Going into Fallout, I was very excited, but after Fallout came out, I just wanted dozens more of these Mission Impossible movies. I feel like Fallout was just one of the most spectacular theater-going experiences I've ever done in my life, I've ever had, so I am so excited for this movie. Even if this movie has the worst premise, I cannot wait to see it just for the stunts and spectacle alone, but I'm sure it will have a great story, because these films just keep getting better and better and better and better. In October, we have, of course, some horror films. We have the new Hocus Pocus film, even though I don't know exactly when its release date is. I'm assuming it'll be in October. We're getting the finale to Halloween. We're getting Halloween Ends, which I would have put on my list if this last Halloween had been good, but I did not like the last Halloween movie, Halloween Kills, so I'm a little more pessimistic about Halloween Ends. We're also getting a film about the mother of Emmett Till. It is called Till. It comes out on the 7th. That looks like a very, very powerful drama. But my most anticipated film for October, it is another Marvel film. It is not an MCU film, but it is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. The Part 1 has me a little hesitant since it does feel like it could be a very incomplete film by the end, but I don't care. We're getting more Spider-Verse. Lord and Miller are returning to the screenplay, which is very exciting knowing how much of a fan I am of their work. Shameik Moore returns as Miles Morales. Haley Steinfeld returns as Spider-Gwen. Jake Johnson returns as Peter Parker, but we have some additions to the cast. We have Oscar Isaac joining the cast as Miguel O'Hara, also known as Spider-Man 2099. We also have Issa Rae showing up as Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman. This is just such an exciting project. We've gotten so much Spider-Man over the past few years that it feels like a little bit of overkill, but I like how different these films feel from all the other types of superhero movies we see day to day. And I really think that is what sets us apart from other superhero movies that I'm a little less excited about.
I'm grounded.
Bummer. What? Is Spider-Man grounded?
In November, we have yet another few superhero films. We have The Flash coming on the 4th of November. Like I said, I'm getting a little bit of multiverse fatigue, so The Flash isn't necessarily my favorite of this bunch, but I'm still excited to see it. Black Panther Wakanda Forever, this was originally on my list when I first went through and made the list, but then I thought about it, and I think with all the reshoots, and then also just the different rewrites of the script, it has me a little bit worried. Only because you have such a monumental task of addressing the passing of Chadwick Boseman while also passing down the torch for Black Panther. I think it's going to have a ton of impact for the community. I think it's going to make a lot of money, but as a story, I'm just wondering if it's going to hold up, especially considering the monumental task they have to do. We're also getting an untitled Bee Gees biopic by Kenneth Branagh, who is in the conversation for Best Picture and Director for Belfast right now, so he might follow a possible Best Picture win with another pretty notable film, a Bee Gees biopic, which is very interesting. I love the Bee Gees. We're also getting Strange World, which is a new Disney animated film. I don't know anything about it, but it's about a strange world. Creed 3 is coming with Michael B. Jordan directing this time and starring as the lead Adonis Creed. Here's another film that would have ended up on my top 15 if it had come out in any other month, and that is The Fabelmans, which is a Steven Spielberg film. It is a coming-of-age drama about his childhood growing up in Arizona. This feels like a tailor-made movie for me. It is a Steven Spielberg film, it is a coming-of-age film, and it is an autobiographical film. I think this is going to be a very great film. It stars Michelle Williams, Seth Rogen, and Paul Dano. The only reason I don't have it in my list is because of this other film I'm putting on my list, which is Canterbury Glass. That is supposedly the title of the film. It is subject to change, but it is directed by David O. Russell, and the only reason I have it on my list is because of this cast. I'm going to rattle it off. This is one of my favorite casts of 2022, and we haven't even gotten the movie yet. Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Rami Malek, Zoe Saldana, Alessandra Nivola, Robert De Niro, Timothy Olyphant, Michael Shannon, Chris Rock, Mike Myers, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Taylor Swift. This is a dynamite cast. This has Oscar winners, Oscar nominees, up-and-comers, musicians. It has everything. Comedians. This is a packed cast. And it's a period piece, and it's David O. Russell. I'm very, very sold on this film. Rounding out the year with December, we of course have Avatar 2. This is the one that is probably going to make the most money of all these films because the first one was such a massive hit. Am I as excited for it? I don't know. It's been so long that I don't know if really Avatar has been on the radar lately, but I'm excited to see it nonetheless. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is also a sequel that is long awaited after the first Aquaman film was a very pleasant surprise. The Mario film starring Chris Pratt and Jack Black as Bowser is coming out on the 21st. We have a Whitney Houston biopic directed by Casey Lemons called I Want to Dance with Somebody coming out on the 23rd, but on the 25th, that is Christmas Day, we are getting Damien Chazelle's new film and my most anticipated film of December, Babylon. I don't know much about Babylon. I know it takes place in the Hollywood era where silent films were turning into sound films. If you can see with this poster behind me, my favorite movie of all time is a film very much based around the transition from silent to talkie films. It's Singing in the Rain, and if this film has any sort of resemblance in style, in time period, in the costumes, set design, I'm very, very excited for it. It stars Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, two actors that I really, really love. They are reuniting after being in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood together. Another great period piece about Hollywood. I think period pieces about Hollywood can sometimes come across a little too Oscar baity. You know, you're trying to get the Academy's attention by making a film about Hollywood. But I really think Damien Chazelle is the perfect person to make something that is both nostalgic but also meaningful. I think he did it with La La Land. I think he made a great film with Whiplash and First Man. I think he is one of the best directors working right now. And to see him with this long-awaited film, it's a drama about Hollywood. Damien Chazelle directing, great cast. Tobey Maguire is an executive producer, and he appears in a supporting role. I feel like it's been so long since we've seen Tobey Maguire in a film, and I can't wait to see him back on my screen. I feel like I haven't seen him in forever. So those are my most anticipated movies from January to December, but now let's look at some of the other films that don't have release dates, because I definitely think these are worth noting. Disenchanted, the Enchanted sequel, is coming, which I'm so excited for. Enchanted is one of my favorite live-action Disney films. Deep Water, the erotic thriller starring Ana de Armas and Ben Affleck. This is filmed before their breakup, and it is going to be released post-breakup, so I'm more intrigued than excited for this one, honestly. We're also getting an Ana de Armas film that is supposedly going to be an Oscar frontrunner for Best Actress. She is playing Marilyn Monroe in the biopic Blonde, which I'm very excited for. We also have The Adam Project, which is Ryan Reynolds reuniting with Sean Levy to make a film about a man who goes back in time to get help from his younger self to confront their late father. We're getting a new Richard Linklater film called Apollo 10.5, which is an animated film about the moon landing. Day Shift, which stars Jamie Foxx as a pool cleaner, except the pool cleaning business is just a front for his real business, which is killing vampires. That sounds awesome. Disappointment Boulevard, which is the new comedy horror from Ari Aster. We've never seen Ari Aster do a comedy. We've only seen Ari Aster do horror, but his horror films are really, really interesting. I love Hereditary. I was a little more mixed on Midsommar, but I was still very intrigued, especially visually with everything going on. This stars Joaquin Phoenix, who is on a really great run between Joker and Come On, Come On, and he will hopefully be giving in another great performance in this. Wendell and Wild, which is a stop-motion dark fantasy comedy horror film. This was not really on my radar until I saw who was directing it, and it is Harry Selick, who directed Nightmare Before Christmas, James and the Giant Peach, and Coraline. It is his return to the stop-motion comedy horror genre. White Noise, which is the new Noah Baumbach film, starring his partner Greta Gerwig, starring Adam Driver. I love Greta Gerwig and Adam Driver as performers, but seeing them come together with the Noah Baumbach script and Adam Driver performing in another Noah Baumbach film after Marriage Story, I am 100% sold. Crimes of the Future, which is a new David Cronenberg horror film. That's right, we're getting another Cronenberg, so strap in. I am so very excited. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. This was a festival film that has not really been talked about very much. It is an animated stop-motion film based on the shorts Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. It is one of my favorite little shorts to watch on YouTube when I'm having a bad day, when it's a rainy day. I love to put on Marcel the Shell. It makes me feel better, and I hope this film does the same. The Whale, which is a film starring Brendan Fraser, directed by Darren Aronofsky, about a 600-pound man trying to reconnect with his 17-year-old daughter. I can already see this might be a potential Oscar contender for Brendan Fraser, maybe for makeup, and maybe for Aronofsky. This might be his return to something similar to The Wrestler, which I really, really love. Probably my favorite Aronofsky film behind Black Swan. This is going to be a very intriguing film. It might be a very sad film, who knows, but I'm very, very intrigued. Now for the films that I'm going to put on my top 15 because I am very excited about them, but they do not have release dates yet. The first is Knives Out 2. We obviously have heard so much casting rumors over the past few months, just of people joining this cast. Let me rattle off this cast. Daniel Craig is returning, of course, as the detective, but we are also getting Dave Bautista, Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Kathryn Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., Kate Hudson, Madeline Klein, Jessica Henwick, who was great in the Matrix movie, and Ethan Hawke. So this is a really great ensemble. Rian Johnson's returning. This is definitely one of my most anticipated films of the year. We also have Peter Pan and Wendy, which is a Disney remake. Obviously, these recent Disney remakes have been very hit or miss. For me, they've been mostly miss, but the director behind it is David Lowery, who just wowed us with The Green Knight. Even if you didn't like The Green Knight, I think you could still appreciate what was going on visually and stylistically, aesthetically. And I think Peter Pan and Wendy is another great fantasy film for David Lowery to just like devote all his passion for filmmaking and fantasy to the screen. I'm really, really excited to see it because I think Peter Pan is as a story that could be a little exhausting if you tell it over and over again, but if you get it right, it can be one of the most magical cinematic masterpieces, especially coming off of Pete's Dragon, David Lowery's last Disney remake. I mean, that is one of my favorite films, live-action Disney films ever, so I'm really, really excited to see what Lowery brings to Peter Pan and Wendy. And the last film I'll be talking about, which does make my top 15, is Killers of the Flower Moon. As I said before, no release date yet, but this is directed by Martin Scorsese, immediately getting my attention, but then seeing that this is also his 6th collaboration with Leonardo DiCaprio, his 10th collaboration with Robert De Niro, and that the film centers around a major investigation into the murders of members of the Osage tribe. I think this is a very, very, very intriguing premise, a very intriguing cast, and I love to see just the range that Martin Scorsese brings to his filmography. So there we go. We've gotten 1 movie from every single month. We have 3 more movies that have not been given release dates yet. So I'm going to take these 15 movies now and rank them from my least to most anticipated, just of these top 15. I mean, these are 15 films I'm very, very excited for, but one of them ranks above all. Let's see how it goes. At number 15, I'm going to go with Bros, only because I don't know a ton about it, except for the fact that it was filmed in my town, it has a really historic cast, and I love Billy Eichner. I'm very excited. 14 is The Fallout. It's coming very, very soon. I don't know if it's going to make a big splash, but I'm really excited for it nonetheless. 13 is Dog. This is strictly from the trailers. I really enjoy watching the trailer whenever I go to the movies, so I'm very excited to see it at its full length. Number 12, this might surprise some of you, but I put Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. As I spoke earlier, I do have a bit of multiverse fatigue, but that does not stop me from putting a Sam Raimi superhero film here in the top 15. At 11, we have Lightyear, a very intriguing premise, looks like some great animation. At number 10, another Disney film, Peter Pan and Wendy. The live-action remakes have not necessarily had the best reputation, but I feel like David Lowery is going to hit this one out of the park. Number 9, for the cast alone, Canterbury Glass. Similar deal for number 8, which I have Knives Out 2. I hope Rian Johnson comes up with a creative enough story to support this really amazing cast. At number 7, I have Nope, just because I do not know much about it, except for Jordan Peele directing it, and the cast, Kaluuya, Stephen Yeun, Keke Palmer. I am very much sold on that, so it comes in at number 7. At number 6, for similar reasons, since I don't really know the extent of the plot, except for the very basic premise, Killers of the Flower Moon. I love Scorsese, and I cannot wait to see what he brings to this one. At number 5, it was number 5 last year, it's going to be number 5 again this year, Mission Impossible 7. Cannot wait to see it. Number 4, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It's surprising that it's this low, but only because I feel like we've gotten so much Spider-Man as of late, and because Lord & Miller didn't necessarily blow me away with Lego Movie 2, so I'm a little bit hesitant to see what they do with a sequel here, though I would be lying if I said I wasn't head over heels excited for this film. Number 3, The Northman. This was a film that was probably going to be lower on my list until I watched the trailer, and it shot up all the way to number 3. It looks incredible. Number 2 is Babylon. Damien Chazelle is one of my favorite new voices in cinema. If he comes close to the quality of La La Land, First Man, and Whiplash, then we're in for an all-time classic. And number 1 should be no surprise because it has been probably the most talked about 2022 release, and it hasn't even come out, The Batman. I'm very excited for it and cannot wait to see it in just a few months' time. So those are my top 15 most anticipated movies. What are your 15 most anticipated movies of the year, or top 10, or top 5, anything? Are you excited for these films? Are you not excited for these films? Are you excited for some of the films that I mentioned? Are there films that I didn't even mention in this entire video that you are excited for? Please let me know down below. I love to discover new films that are not on my radar. There's a chance that my favorite movie 2022 is nowhere to be found on this list, and that's okay. And that's the beauty of cinema. That's the beauty of these smaller films getting released alongside all these big ones. I tried to create a good mix of blockbusters and smaller films on this list, so I can't wait for you to check those out. I'll get reviews of most of those movies as they come out in the next few months. Thank you so much for helping support and grow this channel over the course of the past year. I have so much exciting stuff coming for you, starting in a few weeks with the new MCU Trivia League. Also, more Marvel content every single Monday on Marvelous Movie Mondays, which is my podcast devoted to Marvel, not just MCU, but other Marvel stuff like Morbius, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, all that jazz. I also have Picture This, which is a show where I go through every single Best Picture nominee of all time. Framerec has made its return, the show about so bad they're good movies. Cannot wait to get that back up and running. And Recipe for Reality. If you want your reality TV fix on Survivor, The Amazing Race, Big Brother, any of those shows, you can check out that show weekly on this channel as well. I'm very, very excited to see what 2022 has in store. One of my New Year's resolutions is to build this to 1,000 subscribers, so I'm really, really hoping you all can help make that happen. At the very least, we'll have fun trying to get to that goal together. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.